And lastly, I would say, you really want to stay engaged throughout this whole process of the job search and when you get on the job. So, look for books that really push and expand your knowledge. So, a couple for me. One is Development is Freedom by Amartya Sen. Beautiful, amazing book about development. I really, really believe in his philosophy. It influences the way I think about sustainability, and that's something I go back to over and over again as I think about how I do my job. Another in chocolate. Cocoa was new for me in this job, so I read all the books that I can about cocoa and chocolate coming in. And that helped me to ask some really smart questions that, although the industry was new to me, particular crop of cocoa, I was able to learn what I needed to hit the ground running. Again, following thought leaders, columns, blogs, Twitter. So a couple that I follow, I love Michael Pollan and Mark Bittman. I think that they ask really provocative, interesting questions about food, both big food and industrial food systems and also small alternative farming. Mark Gunter writes a blog on sustainability. Every day there's a different story that comes out. A lot of times I don't agree with his opinion. A lot of times I do. I love reading it because it really pushes my thinking. The Guardian also has a newsletter on development, which is really interesting, development and sustainability. And there's a blog about Business Fights Poverty, and that brings together a really interesting group of thought leaders every week who are driving, really targeting poverty reduction through business. And then lastly, I would say join relevant industry and trade organizations. So my company is a member of the Sustainable Food Lab. That brings together a really interesting set of leading practitioners in the field who are learning together. The Sustainability Consortium is another. But whatever your field is, you really want to make sure that you are staying engaged and a member of those relevant trade organizations. And so before we get to questions, I just want to leave you with one quote that's really inspiring for me. Reid Hoffman, who's the founder of LinkedIn, wrote this book called The Startup of You, and I think for any job searcher or seeker or somebody who's permanently developing their career, I think it's a really, really inspiring book to read. I don't read or haven't read very many career advice books, but I really liked this one. So he says, "Finished ought to be an F word for all of us. We are all works in progress. Keeping your career in permanent beta forces you to acknowledge that you have bugs and that there's new development to do on yourself, that you will need to adapt to evolve." And I think that's true for any of us that are really passionate about sustainability and about making impact in the world in a particular sector. This is really a fast and furious, growing, exciting field, and you really should see your career in constant, exciting development.